Coming up on Capital City Sports, men's basketball finally gets an SEC win, women's tennis plays in the Carolina Tennis Center for the first time, and women's basketball hosts Mississippi State. This is Capital City Sports. Hello and welcome into Capital City Sports. I am Hunter Banks. The men's basketball team has struggled in SEC play so far this year. In all 4 of their SEC games, they have not come within double digits of winning. They look to turn that around against Alabama Wednesday night. Emily McDonald was there and she's going to tell you just how the Gamecocks did.
The men's Gamecock basketball team comes into the game Wednesday night against Alabama looking for their first win against an SEC opponent. Let's get into it. The Tide rolled into Colonial Life Arena ready to play and quickly jumped to a 5-point lead, letting Columbia know they were not going to be South Carolina's first conference win. Malik Cook broke the seal for Carolina, while other Gamecocks struggled against the Alabama defense. Anthony Gill tried to contribute but did not prevail against half of Alabama's defense, who after blocking him 3 times, took the ball back. Cook brings it back and drains a 3, putting the Gamecocks up 8-5. Bringing it back down the court, Cook gets caught up in the Bama defense and tips it to a wide open Jermontre Harris, who slams it down. It still wasn't enough to get the rest of the team in it because they were not ready for a great save, but Randolph was and puts it back in the hoop, ending the half with the Gamecocks down by 2. The biggest weakness this team has had this season was their second half start, and even though they tried to come out strong, they still go in getting blocked, keeping the ball out. Bruce Ellington goes up, pump fakes, passes it to the corner, he shoots, and airball. Bruce Ellington is not ready to bow down to the Tide and drives with his team supporting him, putting back in his missed layup. Alabama takes complete advantage of the weak defense, leaving Randolph wide open to tie the game back up at 54 with 1 minute left. Coming off the Gamecock steal, Ellington brings the ball across half court, running down the final seconds of the game, putting the pressure on Alabama to do something. He stands around right there at the corner half court, and the Alabama coaches start yelling to use the 2 extra fouls that you have and foul him. With the game tied at 54, Alabama with 1 foul to their own bonus land, they use that last foul, and Darren Horn talks his Gamecocks down in the last 6 seconds. Bruce Ellington, ready to use these last few seconds, pops up, grabs the ball, drives down the lane, and makes the game-winning basket. Alabama has a few seconds left. They get it really close to their hoop, but miss. The Gamecocks get their first SEC win, 56-54 against Alabama. For Capital City Sports, I'm Emily McDonald.
After a performance like that, I'm sure Justin and Emily have a lot to say in the boardroom. Let's go ahead and send it to them and see what they think.
Welcome into this segment of the boardroom. I'm Emily McDonald, being joined by Justin Stevens. Now, Justin, the men's basketball team started off with a rough season, but they've picked it up a little bit. What are your thoughts on that?
They've picked it up a little bit. Last week they had their first SEC win. They're now 1-5 in the SEC, 9-11 overall, and they barely squeaked by Alabama with Bruce Ellington's layup that he kind of just tossed it up in the air, hit the backboard, and miraculously it went in for the Gamecocks.
Yeah, that's true, and he did get lucky because his teammates had to put it back just shots before that. So who would you think on this struggling Gamecock team is the best player?
Well, I mean, The Alabama game and the Ole Miss game, many people would think maybe it was Bruce Ellington since, you know, he is probably the most talented player on the team. But I think the most important player on this team is Malik Cook. He's a senior, and he's been stepping up these last few games. I think he has 18 points, then 17 points, and averaging 12 for the season, with 5 rebounds, and is hitting his shots 43% of the time. And that leadership quality from being a senior really helps the Gamecocks. They really need that. Bruce Ellington's only a sophomore, which, I mean, a senior point guard would be extremely beneficial, but Bruce has a while to go before then. So now Malik Cook has to step it up for the Gamecocks and try to give them some dignity out of this season.
Yeah, he has been a key player. Now, what would you like to see improve for the team besides getting more wins?
Watching the Gamecocks early on in the season, three-point shooting was really bad. They just threw the ball up in the air and took horrible shots with hands in their face. They've gotten better with that. So it's not a thing that I would say they need to improve on. Also, free throw shooting, they don't get to the line much, but they were 6 for 7 against, I think it was Ole Miss. So they were all right against that. But the number one thing, I say rebounding. They're missing Sam Muldrow more than they thought, more than just blocking shots. Rebounding the ball, they were out-rebound against Alabama. They won, but they were out-rebound. And against Ole Miss, they were out-rebound by 10. They're just giving up too many second-chance points on the defensive end to opponents, and that's the reason that they're just not winning ball games.
Absolutely. Defense and rebounding wins games. Now, that'll do it for us in this segment of the boardroom, but we'll be right back.
Coming up after the break, women's basketball hosts Ole Miss, and the women's tennis team breaks in the new Carolina Tennis Center. Stay with us. The Lady Gamecock basketball team has shown flashes of excellence this year, even climbing into the top 25 before losing 3 straight games. They did beat Vandy last week and hope to capitalize on that momentum Thursday against Ole Miss. Ross Hansopoulos was there, and he has your highlight.
On Thursday, January 26th, the Lady Gamecocks took on the Ole Miss Rebels, and early on we are seeing some early paint presence from USC. The story of the night for USC has been USC's own Markeisha Grant. The senior guard took over, and as she drives one in and lays it up and in, she finished with a night of 20 points. Ole Miss tries to keep it close with a driving layup from guard Felicia McFarland. She finished the night with 12 points. But it's hard to make a run against USC as senior guard Lakeisha Sutton knocks down a 3. She finished the night with 17 points. Ole Miss tried to find some answers throughout the night, and there's one for guard Whitney Hamath for the Rebels. But as possessions move to USC, Markeisha Grant knocks down a jumper with a defender in front of her, and she knocks down a 3 ball as she had a sensational night for the Gamecocks offense. Scary moment for the Gamecocks as 5th-year senior guard Courtney Newton takes an elbow to the face. She left the game with a concussion injury. But it did not slow the Gamecocks offense down as junior guard Ashley Burner pump fakes and gets the layup and one. She finished with 8 points in the night. Moving to the second half, Markeisha Grant continues to dominate as she knocks down a 3, serving Ole Miss right. Ole Miss continue to find answers in the second half, and they do, finding Danielle McCray. She knocks down a jumper for Ole Miss. Moving the ball into transition, finding guess who? Markeisha Grant for the driving in layup, and going to a stellar performance on offense. Rebounding has also been key for the Gamecocks as Alicia Brown took from both sides for USC as they out-rebounded Ole Miss 45 to 32. And that will wrap it up for the Gamecocks as they win 61 to 43. Next for the Gamecocks will be the Mississippi State Bulldogs coming to Columbia on Sunday, January 29th, and on the road on Thursday, February 2nd against Tennessee. Ross Hansopoulos, Capital City Sports.
With the Lady Gamecocks consistently delivering wins, an NCAA berth may be in their future. Let's send it to Justin and Emily in the boardroom to see what they think about the Lady Gamecocks.
Welcome back to the boardroom. changing gear from the men's basketball team to a little bit more successful team, the women's basketball team. Justin, what are your thoughts on them this season?
Well, the women's team right now is third in the SEC with only 2 conference losses. And when I watch this women's team, I look for how they change from year to year. Last year they had an all right season, but not the greatest. And this year, third in the SEC, and they're going to make an NCAA tournament run. There's no question about it. And what I've noticed is this team also plays in spurts. For 4 minutes, they'll play like last year's team. But for 4 minutes, Don Staley really gets onto the Gamecocks, and they play like a top 25 team. And what they do in those spurts, they seem to have a lack of focus when they're on the downside of those spurts. Then on the upside, they play really good defense. They take smart shots, and they make nice passes.
That's right. Now, who would you think is the key player on this successful team? Who makes this team successful?
If I had to choose one, there's Ashley Boone, there's Markeisha Grant, but I think Lakeisha Sutton is the most important person on the team. Number 11, she plays a little bit of point, but she's mostly a number 2. Grant is the main point guard on the team when she's in the game, but they rotate her, throughout the game. But Sutton seems to be the girl that, sparks these runs for the Gamecocks after timeouts or after another team has like a 10-0 run. She seems to be, the focus on the team. And other players, Ashley Bruner, she's a big force down low. Grant can hit 3-pointers. And freshman Alicia Welch has also been a huge success for this Gamecock team, as a freshman.
That's right. Now, with the successful year that they're having right now, or the successful season compared to last year, how do you think the rest of their season is looking? Do you think it's going to keep up like this, or it's going to drop off and we're going to see last year's women's team again?
I think they're going to continue to improve. I think Don Staley has them on the right path, and I think they'll finish, third in the SEC. And I think they'll go to the semifinals in the SEC tournament. But right now, Kentucky and Tennessee in the SEC are, the 2 powerhouses. Kentucky is actually, leading the conference. They're undefeated. They beat Tennessee. So right now, I think South Carolina stays at number 3, and they'll get a 4th, 5th, or 6th, seed in the NCAA tournament, which is, a huge success for Gamecock basketball. And, they might actually make a run to the Sweet 16, and who knows, maybe like Elite 8 or something.
That would be great, and a little bit of focus would be shifted to a women's sport for once. But that'll do it for this segment of the boardroom. If you want to stay with us, we're going to look at the new recruits since it's signing day.
The women's tennis team is quietly becoming one of USC's most consistent teams. As a result, the athletic department decided to give them and the men's team a new facility to play in. They opened up the new Carolina Tennis Center last Wednesday against Furman. Justin Stevens was there, and he has your highlight.
South Carolina's Williams-Brice Stadium opened up in 1934 and has a lot of history in it. Now, the tennis program has their own stadium they can call home for a numerous amount of years. The Carolina Tennis Center, located next to the Roos Dorm and Beckham Field, contains 10 courts, 2 big scoreboards, upper deck seating, a canopy area for officials, and a walkway under the seats for players, coaches, and officials. What a beauty it is, and the South Carolina women's tennis program will open up the season trying to forget about their NCAA tourney loss to Florida last season. They host in-state Furman in this one, as the Paladins are trying to become 2-1 on the season. On Court 1, USC's Jacqueline Alawi and Diana Stovich take on Alex Moreno-Case and Catherine Alden. In the second set, Alawi and Stovich have no problem against the Furmans, as Alawi backhands one in the left corner. In the 7th set, USC up 40 love, and Stovich slams that one right down the middle, gives USC the first win of the day, 8-0. On Court 2, another USC doubles team has things under control, as Josephine Anderson and Anya Morgina are up 7-2. With USC up 40 love in the 7th set, Morgina slams that one back and gets it back, slams it to the left. Game USC. Court 2 ends up winning 8-2. On Court 3, the most interesting matchup of the day, with Dominika Konakova and Katerina Popova up 7-6. With the advantage in the 14th set, Popova serves up to Furman, and Kanikova gives a nice backhand to the right corner, gives USC the win, 7-0, the first win on the season. Justin Stevens, Capital City Sports.
Coming up after the break, Justin and Emily break down the football recruiting class, and swimming and diving is back in action. Don't touch that dial. Welcome back. Steve Spurrier and his staff have put together a recruiting class that doesn't have any marquee players like last year, but it is still an outstanding class. Let's send it to Justin and Emily in the boardroom to get a breakdown of some of the signees.
Back into the final segment of the boardroom. I'm Emily McDonald, still here with Justin Stevens, and we're going to be talking about the new recruits coming in this year. Justin, what have you seen so far today?
It's not last year's. Last year we had a big surprise National Signing Day when Clowney picked us. Many people thought he was coming here anyway, but there was a scare from Alabama and Clemson, you know, the 2 weeks where we really didn't hear anything. This class is not like last year's, but I mean, it's a really good, successful class. It's a top 15 class. And South Carolina has a numerous of 4-star recruits. They have Jarrell Adams, the athlete, wide receiver Shaq Rowland and Jody Fuller out of North Carolina, defensive backs Chaz Elder and Jordan Diggs, offensive tackles Brock Stannick and Joe Harris, and running back Mike Davis from Georgia. I mean, all these guys will eventually start for the Gamecocks, I think, but I don't think they'll start right away.
Yep, Spurrier had to find significant guys to replace players like Melvin Ingram and Alshon Jeffrey and all the seniors and guys that are just leaving for the draft. Now, who do you think the top 3 recruits will be?
I think the top 3 recruits, or the most useful recruits for next year, is going to be Shaq Rowland, wide receiver, Jody Fuller, another wide receiver, and Chaz Elder, which is a defensive back. The way I see this offensive going, it's going in more of a spread direction. We lost Alshon, big possession receiver. Now, I mean, we don't have a standout receiver, so now we're going to have a bunch of fast guys that are going there, catching footballs and move the ball quickly down the field, especially with Connor Shaw's ability to run the football. That's why I think Shaq Rowland, which is from Lexington High School, I mean, right over here, and Jody Fuller from North Carolina was a great wide receiver in high school also. They'll be able to step up right away, I think. I don't think they'll get redshirted and, you know, give some contribution to the receiving corps. And also Chaz Elder, he's one of ESPN's top safety recruits. I don't think he'll start right away again, but maybe the next year. He'll get some playing time this year, especially in our, you know, little non-conference games that we're playing, but not anything serious.
Do you see any of the new recruits starting next year right off the bat?
I don't see anything. I mean, I think Shaq Rowland and Jody Fuller get enough playing time, but unless there's some injuries, I think, you know, the veteran guys will step up and they'll be the ones that start this year.
All right, now there's still some doubt, I guess, circling around about who's the quarterback going to be next year, even though Connor Shaw stepped up when Steven Garcia was dismissed from the team. We have another new recruit coming in that some speculate is going to walk right into the position, say that he's college ready, even though he's never played on a college field. What do you think about the quarterback situation going into next year?
I think it's in what direction Steve Spurrier wants this offense. If he wants it a spread offense, Connor Shaw is definitely a quarterback. There's not a quarterback that's faster than Connor Shaw on the team. And this new recruit, Brandon Nasovich, I mean, he's a Connor Shaw type guy. He's a little bit taller. I mean, he's 6'2", around 200, and he broke a lot of records in Pennsylvania. But on the other hand, I mean, the scout guys, the Rivals guys, and ESPN recruiting guys only have him as a 3-star prospect. So there's obviously some speculation if he can do that in the college level. And I think Connor Shaw will be the quarterback for next year. I don't see another quarterback stepping up over the spring and overriding Shaw.
All right, well, there you have it. Top recruits and what's going on next year as we all eagerly await for it. That'll do it for us in the boardroom. For Justin Stevens, I'm Emily McDonald. Have a good day.
The swimming and diving teams were in action Friday and Saturday against Vanderbilt and ECU. Ross Hanzopoulos was there Friday and Pat Cloney was there Saturday. Let's send it to them to get a breakdown of each of the days.
On Friday, January 27th, the Lady Gamecocks took on the East Carolina Pirates and the Vanderbilt Commodores, as well as the men's took on the East Carolina Pirates. USC's own Mattia Pete won the first event, which was the 200-yard freestyle. The first main event was the 200-yard freestyle, and USC's own Michael Kovac wins in a dominant fashion. The next women's event is the women's 200-yard IM, and it was taken control by Rachel Shackler. Moving to the women's 500-yard freestyle, USC's Jordan Gibbs wins in a dominant performance as she took first place. On to the men's 500-yard freestyle. It was a very close race, but at the end, USC's Gerald Rodriguez came out on top. Moving to the women's 100-yard breaststroke, USC's own Amanda Rutkowitz took full control and never let go of the throttle as she wins first place. Lauren Rakazowski took full control of the 100 yards freestyle as she wins first place. Closing in on the men's 400-yard relay, closer Rory Woodgold finishes off first place for USC. The record book was written on Friday as USC's own Rylan Rittenar has a new record of final points in 382.58. Next for the Gamecocks, they will go to the SEC Championship on February 15th. Ross Hanzopoulos, Capital City Sports.
Coming up after the break, we've only got one more highlight for you as women's basketball hosts Mississippi State. Stay tuned. After beating Ole Miss earlier this week, the Lady Gamecock basketball team was looking to beat the other SEC team from Mississippi, Mississippi State. CCS rookie Angel Holland was there, and she's going to show you how it all went down.
A small crowd of Carolina fans gathered at the Colonial Life Arena Sunday to watch the Lady Gamecocks take on Mississippi State in search of their 6th conference win. Fans donned their I Believe t-shirts to support this fighting women's basketball team who's 17-5 this season. Here's White with a score for the Gamecocks. Mississippi State tried keeping in the game with senior Portia Porter going in for 2 points. Here's Ashley Brown scoring 2 to fight for the lead. The teams rallied back and forth as seen here where Mississippi State Porter passed the ball right in the hands of Lady Gamecock Ashley Brunner. Ashley Brunner will continue to fight defensively, nabbing the rebound and pushing it down the court, right into the hands of Alicia Welsh, who knocks it in for 2 more. Welsh, the freshman, averages 8.7 points a game for the Lady Gamecocks. At the start of the second half, Gamecocks lead 30-22. In an attempt to pump up the Bulldogs, freshman Martha Alwal sinks the shot. Unfortunately, their inconsistency on the court interferes with most Bulldog possessions in the second half, as seen here where the Gamecocks capitalize on this rebound where Lakeisha Sutton sinks 3. Here comes Grant again with a no-look pass that psychs out the Bulldog defense and allows Aisha Walker to lay it up. Let's look at that again. Aisha Walker does a beautiful layup, giving her 6 points, 5 assists, and 2 block shots for the game. Bulldogs not giving up yet. Portia Porter shakes Gamecock defense and tries desperately to keep them in the game with a layup. Markeisha Grant takes advantage of the Bulldogs' sluggish defense to score, knocking in for 2. Grant's spectacular show of threes rocked the Colonial Life Arena Sunday against the Bulldogs, where Carolina came away with the win. Final score, Carolina 69, Mississippi State 43. Angel Holland, Capital City Sports.
Well, that's going to do it for us this week. If you missed anything or you want to catch up on any of our past coverage, all of our episodes are online on our website, sgtv.sc.edu. Also, follow us on Twitter at CCS Staff and like us on Facebook. Just search Capital City Sports, and like SGTV on Facebook also. Just search SGTV. For all of us here at Capital City Sports and SGTV, I'm Hunter Banks. Stay cocky, Carolina.